Gorgeous today. We're looking at a piece of source material that takes an ancient biblical text, specifically Malachi 3:10, and transforms it into this stunning modern cinematic masterpiece. I mean, we're talking about an ultra-realistic, highly dramatic visual narrative here. Whether you know this scripture like the back of your hand or you're just curious about how massive, abstract concepts like faith and divine provision can actually be visualized, you're going to love this. It uses incredible lighting, emotional storytelling, and a heavenly atmosphere to just bring the whole thing to life. So let's jump right in.
Okay, let's dive into this. The visual narrative opens with this perfectly grounded, almost hyper-realistic vision. Imagine a breathtaking sunrise over a waking city. It's got that ultra-detailed aesthetic, right? Showing everyday people in their normal environments, working in offices, running shops, farming. But then the camera kind of shifts. It zooms in on a believer intentionally setting aside a portion of what they've earned and then walking into a church to reverently place their tithe into the storehouse. It's a brilliant opening because it completely blends a mundane, everyday morning routine with this deeply personal act of giving. It roots this ancient text right into our modern reality from literally the very first frame.
From there, the narrative transitions into its first major theme. And what's super interesting is how it frames the act of tithing. It doesn't paint it as some rigid, demanding rule, you know? Instead, it treats it as a remarkable invitation. We're basically invited to see this as a chance to be part of something so much bigger than ourselves. It's about building up and supplying that earthly storehouse so that, well, the greater work can actually continue.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what that storehouse is supposed to do. The source material depicts the house of God as this incredibly active, vibrant place. It's not just an empty building, it's full of life. We're seeing active worship, people praying, and crucially, people in need getting direct, tangible help. We see the gospel being preached and mission work moving forward, all as a direct result of that giving we just saw in the opening scene. The storehouse is quite literally supplying both spiritual and practical needs.
So the narrative actually pauses here to ask a really profound question. Why? Why bring tithes to the storehouse in the first place? And the answer it gives is super foundational, that there may be meat in mine house. It's saying the whole purpose of this obedience is the desire to see the house supplied so the work doesn't stop. It beautifully grounds the physical act of giving into a highly practical reality, right before the visuals take a really dramatic turn.
The text then highlights this specific phrase from the scripture. Prove me now herewith, which makes you think, what does it actually mean to prove God? Well, it's framed as this extraordinary challenge. It's a call to trust Him, believe Him, obey Him, and this is where the visuals get really exciting, to just sit back and watch what He'll do. It perfectly sets the stage for a massive shift in the story, really building up the anticipation.
And boom, right at this exact moment, the pacing completely shifts. We're suddenly pulled from those grounded earthly scenes into a full-blown supernatural climax. It announces this massive promise. If I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. The energy here just skyrockets. We go from quiet, everyday reverence to this absolutely overwhelming sense of majesty.
So the crucial point is how the source actually defines these windows of heaven. It goes out of its way to show us this isn't just about the physical sky cracking open. No, these windows are explicitly defined as divine favor, divine provision, fresh opportunities, and help coming straight from God. It represents these spiritual and practical blessings that are so huge, so overflowing, that you literally don't have enough room to contain them.
To convey that massive spiritual reality, we get this incredible visual. Imagine the heavens suddenly opening up, with brilliant golden light just pouring through the clouds. Massive heavenly windows literally appear above the earth, and these streams of blessings descend like radiant rivers of light. This is exactly where that ultra-realistic, dramatic 4K HDR aesthetic really flexes its muscles. It's designed to visually overwhelm you, which perfectly mirrors the overwhelming nature of the blessing itself.
But here's the best part. These blessings aren't just left as some abstract rivers of light in the sky. They anchor right back down to the human experience. As that light descends, we see the real-world impact. We see families experiencing profound peace, businesses flourishing, crops growing abundantly. People are receiving favor and wisdom. The visuals capture these ultra-realistic emotions, believers lifting their hands in worship, genuine joy filling homes, kids laughing. The entire atmosphere is just completely transformed by gratitude and answered prayers.
Now, why does the narrative use these specific, highly cinematic visuals of blessings touching everyday life? Well, it's driving toward a core underlying lesson. This whole visually stunning sequence is really teaching us about faith, obedience, generosity, and ultimate trust. That breathtaking visual of golden light transforming homes and businesses, it's a powerful metaphor for recognizing where our provision actually comes from.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast it makes. It reminds us that God is the source, not our jobs, not our businesses, and definitely not just our own abilities. Think back to that very first scene, with folks just working away in their shops. The narrative is contrasting that everyday earthly reliance, the mundane stuff we tend to lean on, with the ultimate divine provider. By honoring the ultimate source, we're acknowledging that every good thing we have comes directly from Him.
Which brings us to the final cinematic scene. The perspective pulls way back, and we see believers standing right beneath those open heavens, completely surrounded by God's provision. And then, in this total cinematic masterpiece moment, these majestic words, "I will open you the windows of heaven," appear directly across the sky. It's such a striking way to cement that promise in your mind, using that ultra-detailed, inspiring visual style to make sure it leaves a lasting impact.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our final takeaway. We see all the overarching themes of this whole visual journey crystallized right here. From the open heavens to the challenge to trust and honor God, which results in overflowing blessings, all of it is anchored by this one central message: the Lord is faithful. This quick visual summary is great because it makes absolutely sure the core message of the scripture doesn't just get lost in all the cinematic spectacle.
Finally, the narrative turns outward, breaking the fourth wall to look right at you. It states, "For the God who promised to open the windows of heaven is still faithful today." And it leaves us with this lingering, provocative question: will you trust Him? It takes this beautifully structured, visually epic journey and distills it into a deeply personal